Well, we are talking about strength training today. Welcome back to XRO Marriage. We've been in a series on how to have an extraordinary marriage, talking about taking intentional, massive action. Last week we talked about our cardio and the importance of love and connection in the relationship. This week we're talking about strength training and the skills that it's necessary to build in a relationship to have a healthy, strong, growing relationship. So we're going to talk about strength training. So we both went to the gym this morning.
Yep.
You did a little bit of cardio. I did a little bit of strength training. My legs, I'm feeling it, wobbled down the stairs a little bit when we got home. But let's talk a little bit about strength training and what we mean in a relationship when we talk about strength training. What would be the parallel?
Well, when we do strength training at the gym, or anywhere, you don't have to go to a gym to do strength training, but we're typically targeting certain muscles. Our muscles need to be worked, to be stressed,
Right.
in order to grow and build strength. So at the gym, we're doing different areas. You did legs today. You'll do arms another time, back another time,
Right.
shoulders, different body part, different muscle groups. And we just have to, keep working those to get stronger and stronger. You start with a lesser weight. You're building up the weight as you go along. You're taking on a bigger task, so to speak, and you're able to handle it because you've been doing it consistently.
And the more you do it, the better you get. The
Right.
more you use it, the stronger it gets.
You'll get. Right.
And I think that's really the parallel to what we're going to talk about today with certain muscles, and they're the primary muscles for a relationship. Most research shows today that most relationships end because of communication problems. They may say, we got a divorce because of finances, or we got a divorce because of intimacy problems, or we got a divorce, and they give all these, but at the end of the day, all of those come back to a communication problem. And I think that communication is one of those primary muscles in the relationship that needs to be strengthened and grown all the time.
Right.
We
consistently.
talk,
Consistently and intentionally.
yeah. We talk to people all the time, and it's like, what would you say the greatest weakness is in your relationship? Communication. What's the great communication? And it keeps coming back to that. And I guess one of the things that I wonder about, and it just kind of, why do we have this idea that, well, that's just who I am, so deal with it?
That's how it is. Yeah.
But if you've got communication problems, if you are on a job and you have a skill that you are not doing well on your job, you're going to lose your job, or you're going to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm. You're going to seek training.
Right.
You're going to seek help.
Yeah. Why do you think we don't see more people going, hey, we've got communication problems, let's take a class? Hey, we got communication. I've got communication problems. Forget I've got a communication problems. What am I going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And it amazes me in a relationship stuff how we don't give the importance in our relationships to learning and development.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I think, like we've talked about before, there's this idea that we should just know how to do relationships. We grow up through the Disney era or whatever. I mean, even at my age, Disney's been around the whole time, sadly. But there's this philosophy kind of that has infiltrated our society. I think that, everything's just wonderful and rosy, and you meet your soulmate, and you just know how to do everything. It's just everything comes naturally. And when things start not coming naturally, a lot of people bail. They're like, this is too hard.
Or do you think
I don't want to work through these problems. We're having problems. We shouldn't have problems. relationships are just
Right.
supposed to be wonderful and natural, so we better get a divorce.
And if we have problems, maybe we married the wrong person
Right,
because we're not supposed to have problems.
right,
And so we throw away looking for the next, but we never fix the real problem.
right.
We think, well, you're the problem, or he was the problem, or it was the problem,
Yeah.
but it's
The
never.
real problem is
I've got-
usually
yeah,
us.
yeah.
I've got the problem. I'm causing some kind of problem, and together we have
Yeah.
problems that we need to work on.
Yeah. So, what would you say the primary muscles are? Then we're talking about conflict resolution, communication,
Right,
and this goes along with it. But I don't. It's a totally area that's critical to communication, and that's listening.
right.
Um,
We've talked a bit about
Yeah.
active listening.
yeah. Yeah, and if you haven't read our blog on active listening, it's one of our better blogs that it's very important in this context.
Mhm.
But those would be the areas that we would really encourage people to work on, because I think we all can relate to the idea that we've been misunderstood.
Mhm.
You know, we were talking just a little while ago about what she said and what she meant. You know, she said this kitchen is so inconvenient, and she meant
I want a new house.
right. And I think that that's a lot of the way that, you know, we all can understand and relate to the fact that we don't always have shared meaning. So
Mhm.
communication, and let's just stay right there for a minute. Communication is all about shared meaning, not shared words.
Right.
So in a relationship, if you're talking and you may be quote unquote communicating,
Yeah.
but you haven't communicated unless you have shared meaning,
Mhm.
which then puts a burden of responsibility on each individual to listen differently and not just care about the words that are shared,
Mhm.
but what was behind those words. What did she mean? What did he mean
Right.
when he said that?
Right, and that can include body language and
Right.
and lots of times it's even about the things that aren't being said,
Right.
not just the words that are being
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. And the things that we do communicate.
Yeah.
And so a couple of the principles then that we would share would be the communications about shared meaning,
Mhm.
communications about intentional, active listening. What else would you say is part of communication? You just mentioned body language.
Mhm.
Thinking about how we sit when we're listening, how we communicate.
Yeah. Are you facing your partner when you're communicating, or are you on your phone? Are you watching TV? And part of that is us learning how to communicate with each other.
Right.
So if you're intently into something, typically you don't hear the first sentence I
Yeah.
say to you. It's always like, "What? What'd you say? Excuse me? What? I didn't hear you." Like, I need to get your attention
Right.
first, and I forget that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I need to get your attention first, and then try to communicate
Right.
what I'm trying to say to you,
Yeah.
and then you'll hear me.
Right. Because I'll listen when you have my attention.
Right.
But how many times do we do that? We just walk in the room and go,
Start talking. Yeah.
"Hey, I saw this still the other day," and the person goes,
What?
"What?" Because we didn't actually have their attention. Their attention was on something.
Yeah.
And as much as we like to think we're good at multitasking, the reality is we're not. We'll do both of them poorly instead of both of them well.
Mhm.
So when we're attuned to something and our attention is on that, and somebody's trying to talk to us, if that's where our attention is, we're hearing, but we're not listening. And I think that's another big distinction that we need to
Mhm.
make, is there's a big difference between hearing
Right.
and listening.
Right.
I can hear all the words you say,
Mhm.
but if I wasn't listening,
Mhm.
then we're not going to
Right.
have shared meaning. We're going to miscommunicate. We're going to have problems.
Yeah.
And so little simple things people can do is just that. Get the person's attention that you want to talk to.
Mhm.
Hey, honey, are you in the middle of something? Can I like
Yeah.
to share something with you? Whatever. Get the attention. Then go into the meat of the... Sometimes we get their attention by starting
Mhm. Yeah.
And
we
that's
have
the
to
that's the
repeat it.
attention getter, and then we're frustrated that we have to repeat it.
Yeah,
Use an attention getter.
yeah,
Hi, you
Yeah.
know, can I talk?
yeah,
Something to get the attention, and then
yeah. How many times have we had a conversation with our spouse, and then some time goes by, and then later they are asking you maybe about that exact thing, and you're
Mhm.
like, I told you about that.
Just-
I already told you. And we can get frustrated and
Mhm.
even angry, and it can escalate really
Yeah.
quickly into an
Yeah.
argument. But if it goes back to our original communication. Did we have their attention?
right?
Did we have shared meaning at the time?
Right.
Chances are we didn't if they're asking about it now.
Yeah, yeah. So communication is probably one of the most important aspects of your relationship. Man, you nail the art of communication. Here's the research I'm doing right now on communication. That if you can nail the art of communication and persuasion and those abilities, those skills that will impact your relationship, they will have ripple effect in your entire life. Think about this for a minute. The person who gets the raise and the promotion at work is not the person who necessarily has the best set of skills for the job.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who has the better communication skills will always move up in the company. So you get this right in your relationship, you work on that in your relationship, and you learn communication skills, and you apply those outside of your relationship, in your job, in your education, with your children, all areas of your life. You nail communication, and you will improve your entire
Yeah.
life.
It's amazing.
It is in the future that we're moving into. The studies right now show that the people who have the communication skills will be indispensable in a technological world. The ability to communicate and share empathy, and computer can do all the tasks, but a computer can't empathize, and a computer
Right.
can't communicate in the same
Yeah.
manner that a person can. So they'll never replace that. So we want to encourage you to do a little strength training. Take some intentional, massive action. Work on your communication skills. And we're going to be developing some resources for communication. But man, buy a book, do something to learn and develop communication skills. And then conflict resolution is a direct parallel to that. If you've got great communication skills, it'll help you with your conflict resolution. You've got good listening skills, it'll help you with your communication.
Right.
But communication, I think, is the primary muscle.
Yeah, and you touched on it earlier about like people will say we argue about finances. Well, if you can master the skill of communication,
Right.
your arguments about finances will
Change.
go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the financial issues are usually a communication
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
It really is a vitally important area.
So we're glad you're here. Go live intentionally, love on purpose, and make it an extra O kind of day.
Thank you for joining us today.
Check out our website with resources to help grow your relationship at extraomarriage.com.
That's xtraomarriage.com. Like our Facebook page and share our content with your friends on social media.
Make a decide and set your intention for an extraordinary marriage. Start today.